My name is Jack Wealing, and I farm in Benton, Jasper, and White counties. And I've been no-tilling for 22 or 23 years. And I do strictly no-till. I do no tillage at all. And in the last 4 or 5 years, I've experimented with cover crops.
And why did you incorporate cover crops into your no-till system?
Well, first it was for livestock feed at the very beginning, which I was very impressed with that. And then with some of the damage that the cattle did on the ground, it turned out very well because of the mat of cover crops really didn't affect the soil at all, and the crops really did well. And then I liked the idea that it helped with erosion control, both wind and water.
With your no-till residue, you were still getting some erosion that could happen.
Right, especially water erosion. It would go into gullies and things like that. And then I didn't like the idea of raindrops dropping 10,000 feet onto bare soil, and I thought there was compaction there that we were overlooking. It has significantly reduced it. It hasn't totally eliminated it, but it certainly has helped.
What percent of your farm are you trying to cover in cover crops each year?
This year we've got probably 80% in cover crops. Went to cereal rye for the biggest part, and then we had turnips for where we were going to pasture with livestock, and then we went with rapeseed other places. And after wheat, we included red clover to get some nitrogen benefits. I think the ground was in better condition overall. There was just, you could pick up any soil, and it was just like potting soil. It was so loose, and that was kind of an aha moment. And also the reduction in erosion was significant. I'd say go ahead and try some. You might want to go with something that would winter kill, just so you don't have that worry in the spring. Like this spring has been a little challenging to get it killed and all that timing just right. But if you'd want to go with like a radish and oats mixture or something like that, just to get your feet wet and wouldn't have to worry about burning it down in the spring, might be a good place to start. And we flew on cereal rye and rapeseed about the second week in August. And I've been moving up farther into the year. First I put on after Labor Day, but that was too late. And we've been moving it ahead. And the beans were just starting to turn when we put this on.
So you think in a consistent no-till cover crop system, the deep ripper, those kinds of tools, just you don't need them anymore?
I can't see where they would do any good. Wouldn't pay for the cost of them, and let alone the operation of them. I wouldn't say that more benefits. You just got to be aware of when, where, and how to manage it.
Okay.
But you just got to keep your options open.
Okay.
And of course, wet soils are always a problem, no matter what kind of farming you're doing. So that kind of enters into it too. But of course, then if you're no-till and also cover crop, you can get over the ground much sooner because of the blanket of residue.
Okay, so you're finding with the residue and the actively growing cover crops, your soils you can be out there earlier or
Yes.
more timely.
And especially in the fall, if you have a wet fall, we would not cut any ruts, and the neighbors would be, going a foot or 18 inches into the soil, and we didn't have that problem at all.
Why do you wait that 10 days? What's your reasoning to do
Well,
for that?
rye has gives off I'm not sure what the terminology is, but it gives off something into the soil that kind of stunts weed emergence and also affects the corn roots. And so I'm going to be adding a little extra nitrogen in the starter fertilizer, and also waiting. I've read that from 10 days to 2 weeks, that effect kind of leaves the soil and doesn't have quite the effect as it has if you plant earlier.
Yeah, and I think that's good practice. if you have cutworm or any of those other things, or armyworm, because I know armyworms are now flying up from the south right now. That for a head of corn, it's such a sensitive crop. It's probably good advice. So Jack, how do cover crops pay? At $3.50 corn, it's an easy expense to cut. How do you justify it?
Okay, there's several different avenues I think that you can look at, and I think conversion of soil fertility into a usable form into the crop is a real plus, and we can apply less nitrogen, I believe, and also phosphate and potash is more available through the cover crop exchange. And also the soil erosion, like we've talked about before, is very important. Especially, I farm some in Jasper that's very sandy, and then it almost fills the ditches sometimes because of the wind erosion, and that has been eliminated with the no-till, and especially with cover crops.
Okay, so that $30 an acre you're spending, you're gaining that back in nutrients and just simply keeping your soil.
I certainly believe that, and in improving the soil health, which has been ignored for many years, decades.
The cereal rye has done its benefit. I mean, I think it's a good 10 inches tall, and you wouldn't really want it any taller at this point, I think.
This is the first year I've applied rye on going into corn.
Okay.
Before that, it's mostly on corn stalks going into soybeans, and that doesn't have the effect on soybeans as it does corn.
So this is a new thing ahead of corn for you. So I'll check back with you after planting, and we'll come out here and see if it was a nightmare and if it all went bad, right? I have a feeling it won't, but we've set ourselves up for success. So Jack, thanks for your time, and we'll check back with you.
Thank you, Dan.